Hey guys, Pete over here, Craigslist Hunter, doing a live stream. That's correct. Let's see if this goes live on me. I'm gonna refresh this really quick. Looks like we are live. Check the sound. Sound is good. How's everybody doing? All right, we got already a few people in here. Oh my God, I was just watching your videos live. Audio good. Thank you guys. Thank you. Slowly people are trickling in. No, it's not my first time live. This is my actually second time live. Excited. Excited. Wow, we got already 138 people watching. Amazing. Um, and the title of the video is not um, switch bait. That's what we're gonna talk about. I actually gonna talk about two different topics today. From 0 to 20 million drifting, and also it's gonna bring us to a second question that somebody asked me about 2 3 days ago on Instagram, which is very interesting. So let me give out some shout outs here, let some people flow in here before we start this. D Show, hey Pete, how are you? Live again. Thank you guys. MT88, Josh. Man, ton of people. This chat is already moving so fast. Um, I don't know how long I'm gonna do this live show for today, but we'll see. Um, I'm gonna get into a couple topics and then I can answer some questions if you guys have any questions for me. Yo, what's up, Craigslist Hunter? Hi, guys. Hello. Pretty good for a second time. Yep. Give me the details. Hi, guys. All right, so we got about 200 people watching now. So the topic of the video is 0 to 20 million thrifting. Don't you just love these headlines? It's crazy for me. And you see this all the time, and this is nothing new, right? This is absolutely nothing new. I remember back in mid to late 80s, when I was growing up, and there was all these infomercials at night about this guy. I think he was called Carlson Sheets, that he was selling like real estate. You got to be like 40 or older to remember this. Oh, maybe not that, but I know he went into the 90s as well. And it was always fascinating for me, right? Promising everybody buy my course, and I think that course back in the day was like 500 bucks. And a funny story is I had a roommate at that time. I think it was like 1988, and we bought the course. Me and my roommate, we paid like 500 bucks for that infomercial, thinking that let's go into real estate. What can we learn? I wonder whatever happened to that guy, but we always look right for something inspiring and something that maybe can change our life. Um, and there's so much of that stuff because of the internet right now. It's crazy, right? You see so many of these headlines, how I made my $1 million in 6 months from zero to nothing and stuff like that. It's just crazy. So, yeah, the title is not a clickbait. That's what we are talking about. Um, it is what it is. It's never gonna go away. It's always been around. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, there's always next guy coming out with something, selling something. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if people are crazy enough to spend the money, you go for it, right? I mean, they go for it and they buy it, and it is what it is. Just like this guy lately, for the last couple of years, what's his name on YouTube? Ty Lopez, right? Pushing all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, it is what it is. It's allowed. If people willing to pay, they pay. So it's just funny. Now, what brings me to the second question is somebody asked me actually very interesting question. I'm gonna pop so I can read it here. The question was from Stacy on Instagram, and I thought it was very interesting and it would be a good topic to talk about. And the question is, do you find that most of your profits is from thrifting or what your store brings in? Is it possible for pickers who don't have a store to make that kind of income? And this was a question on a picture that I posted like 3 days ago of my March sales. And I was showing I think a picture of 36 grand that I did in March on eBay. And I thought this was very interesting because it's a legit question. We should really talk about it. I've been thrifting for a very long time, buying, selling, trading. I had my shop now for a very long time, and I've been on both sides of this game as a picker, without the shop and with the shop, and I can really shed some light on it, which I think is pretty interesting. I mean, it's a really good question. Somebody commented they like the shirt, hustle harder. You know, somebody's asking, I'm gonna try to answer some more questions later on. Somebody's asking how much Amazon I'm doing right now. Probably about maybe 10% of my business is Amazon. And then about 50-60% of my business is eBay, and then rest of it is in my shop. But here's the thing, guys. When it comes to regular thrifting, and when I show a number of like $36,000 a month of sales on eBay, you might be wondering, is it doable for me as a regular picker just thrifting? That's what the question is based about. Just thrifting or garage selling, is it possible? And I'm gonna give you guys honest answer. I don't think so. I don't think it is. I've been there, I've done it. As a one man or one girl show, I don't think you can do it. Just not enough time in a day and not profitable items that you can find. And I'm seeing already questions why is it not possible? This is the thing. I think most of the items that you can thrift and find in the garage sales, they're in that sweet spot when it comes to reselling online, between like $20 to $30, maybe at $40 at tops. And the reason behind it is, I think most people that donate to the shops, they don't have a problem donating items. They're in that range. Anything higher, anything over $50, they start really paying attention. Maybe they can sell it themselves, or they can just give it to somebody. So not many items over that price point end up in a thrift shop. Yeah, I mean, we all find them. They're great home runs here and there, right? You buy something for $5, it's worth $60. You buy something for $10, you can flip it for $100. But how often? Not that often. So most of the items are between $20 to $30 range. And if you are a single person doing this game, I don't think it's just enough time in a day to source that many items and then list that many items, pack and ship to get to that next level. That's why I think a lot of people struggle at that certain point, that they reach that, a $10, $12, $13,000 mark a month, and that's all they can pretty much handle. Is it doable to do 30 grand? Yes, it is, but you got to play a little bit different kind of game. Just from drifting and being a single person show, I honestly think it's impossible. I'm not trying to crush anybody's dreams here. It's just you got to scale it up. You got to, have a partner, maybe husband and wife team, or just start hiring employees, because that's what it comes down to is just time. Time. I mean, we can only do so much, and you got to eat, sleep, and have some time for a family here and there, right? So, and I hustle, and I mean, I truly hustle, and I've been there, I done it. Um, so it's a tough game, guys. It is a really a tough game. Wow, almost 400 people watching. That's pretty amazing. Hi, everybody. Um, where's your partner? I'm at home. I think he just closed the shop. Yeah. Um, it's a tough gig, guys, and you hear a lot of headlines there and a lot of promises. Sometimes people say all kind of crazy stuff, and it's just hard to believe, when somebody gives you those lines, 0 to 20 million in 16 months or stuff like that. I always said it's doable to make big money, but money makes money, bottom line. Um, People ask how come I don't do, for example, sales from wholesale. Why don't I flip stuff? Because it takes a really lot of money to make decent amount of money. The margins are so small, um, that it's extremely hard. I mean, just imagine doing a profit of $3 or $4 on a certain item. Let me back it up here. Let me back it up a little bit here. Because I just had this conversation with somebody about 2 weeks ago, and he was trying to tell me how I'm doing stuff wrong, that he thinks that he can do so much when it comes to wholesaling, And I'm like, yes, it's all doable, but do you have the funds to do it? There's a lot of guys out there, big players that I know on Amazon and on eBay. They are very successful and they are making big money, but it also takes a lot of money to make that money. You find yourself 10, 15 fantastic products they constantly sell, and you go after them. You also know that you have right away competition in those products, right? Because if the product is popular, a lot of people are jumping on it. If particular product will sell 10, 15 times a day, and you have 15, 20 products like that, it's all nice and dandy, but the margins are so small, right? And you're making $3, $4, $5 on this particular product, but you're spending $20 to acquire that product. Now, if you're selling so much of it, all of a sudden you have to be spending $2, $3, $4, $5,000 a day just to buy that product. And it becomes crazy, all of a sudden you got to come up with, 100 grand a month just to make that thing going. So it's not that easy. It's not that simple. It's definitely different ballgame for both for eBay and for Amazon. But just from thrifting, it's a hard game. I mean, you to reach any higher numbers, you really gotta start having employees, and you really gotta, know what you're doing. It's totally different ballgame when you're running a show by yourself, and when you start having employees and a shop. um, there is a way, I think, that you can, without, will also require a little bit of money, but without killing yourself, that you're sourcing so much, and then you don't have time to list all the items, is to just basically go after higher ticket items. I'm just gonna give you guys example. If you and we just sold this recently. If you got a little bit of money and you can go after product that it's quality, meaning a brand name, then you can flip it relatively quickly, and it's expensive, that's when you can really attack it just by yourself. And the example is 2 days ago, bought a camera, Canon 5D Mark III, camera that usually sells on the market when it's new between like $2,500 to $3,000, depends when you look. And I also bought 3 lenses from a gentleman. And originally he wanted $2,000 for the camera and 3 lenses, right? After a little bit of negotiating, end up picking up that camera for $1,500. So I dished out a little bit of money, but that camera is in such a big demand that I know right away that it's gonna be instant sale if I price it correctly. So are the lenses, and this is what happened. So bought the camera for $1,500. One of the lenses was a little bit cheaper, only in a couple $100 range, but the other 2 lenses were anywhere between $1,000 to $1,200 new. We listed the camera with the cheap lens as a combo, sold within 1 hour for $1,800, and then one of the lenses sold a couple hours later for like $800, and another lens sold today for $900. So as you can see right there, I made a couple grand, but I invested $1,500. Now, if you can find yourself products like that you can go after using Craigslist, OfferUp, Let Go, Facebook groups, the local game, and flip stuff like that when you're not spending, 8 hours sourcing for things and then 8 hours listing for stuff, then you can make it happen. But also requires a little bit of cash, but it's a quick flip, so you can keep turning around relatively quickly all the money. It's a game. It's definitely a game. It's doable, but you gotta have a little bit of cash to play that kind of game. And I think that's the only way, if you are a single person, that you can do some serious numbers. Otherwise, probably realistically, 50 grand a year is usually probably what you can do from typical thrifting. If you're really good, maybe you can do 70, 80. But to crack that $100,000 a year just by yourself, it's tough. You need to have help, like I said earlier, maybe husband and wife team, or at least one employee, maybe a couple part-time employees, because you're just gonna run out of time and there's just not enough. You got only 24 hours in a day. So it is what it is. So let's see if I can pick up some questions here now, comparing to my shop, because the original question is, why can I do that with my shop? Don't you guys forget that the shop is all nice and dandy. It generates by itself the profit, and also brings in merchandise for reselling online. But there's a lot of overhead. The main reason I started the shop years back is because I was actually tired of going and chasing the stuff on the street. I figured, there would be stuff coming in through the door, and it would be a lot easier. But it took a lot of time as well too to get my name out there, what I buy, how I buy, what I pay. Just to give you guys example, for the first 12 months when I opened the shop, we didn't make a penny. Not a single penny. The business was absolutely not profitable. So you got to plan for that. You got to plan ahead that eventually you will start making money, but for that period of 12 months, you're not making anything. Everything is going right back to the business. And to get that word on the street, and you got to pay pretty well to convince people showing up at your door, not somebody else's, to sell you things. So you're planning ahead that you got enough money saved up that you're gonna survive for the year. At the same time, you gotta have enough cash in your hand to run a business like this. So, it's totally different ball game, and it constantly changes. Trends change, demands change. Some things will sell good this year, next year they're obsolete or not worth anything. So you got to constantly pay attention to everything that it's happening. Um, I don't have anybody monitoring the chat. I see some crap going on here, so sorry for that. Um, we got over 500 people watching. That's pretty crazy. All right, guys, I'm gonna look into the chat right now and take some questions from you guys if you have any. P, does sales rank really matter? Um, for Amazon, yes, it does, and it makes you, it will give you a decision far as buying. Um, it's very important, but like I said, I'm only probably about 10% of my business is on Amazon right now. It used to be about 30. I cut back quite a bit because I like stuff being turned like quicker actually, far as the money coming back right away through eBay. So I like that much better. Okay. Where do you advertise? For my store, it's all social media and it's all word to mouth. Um, and that's the big thing, in brick and mortar stores. It's all how you treat people, and that's the best advertising. But social media, Facebook, Instagram, we do a lot of advertising actually on OfferUp and Craigslist and Let Go to bring clients in for shopping that they, are looking for certain things, and we advertise those things that we have it in the store. So, let me take care of the chat here really quick because there is some stuff going on. All right, how did you start? Here's a good question. Um, it's actually a funny story. Back early 2000s, we used to have another business called Junk Platoon USA that we would go and clean out homes and businesses, and then we would end up with a lot of stuff um, that we either had to donate or take it to the dump, and we quickly realized that we are throwing money away. So we started selling the stuff of our shop that we had based in South Elgin. We had about 5,000 square foot warehouse that we used for servicing our trucks and stuff like that. And at that turned quickly every weekend to like a flea market till actually city shut us down because we didn't have a license to do anything like that. We just wanted to unload some stuff that we accumulated every week. And that's what gave us the idea of actually opening a shop. I mean, we hustled before big time selling different things, but mainly small stuff, like cameras and electronics that I would just buy and sell, constantly on eBay. But when we did the cleanouts, we end up with ton of different things, from furniture to clothing to all kinds of stuff. And instead of donating, we started selling, and that kind of gave us the idea to open up the shop. Why donate and give this stuff away if we can sell it? And we quickly learned too that we had to make a transition because we had a lot of junk when we brought back and we were trying to push and sell. So we realized really quickly that we need to change the strategy a little bit, and then we actually only kind of cherry picked what we brought that was good enough for the shop, and the rest of it would be donated. So, and that's what it turned to, really buying and selling in the shop. And that's what it is today. That's strictly what I do. All right, let's see here. How do you feel about selling books on eBay? I just bought one of those KDC 200 write book scanners to quickly check the price of them while I'm sourcing. You know what? I'm not a bookseller at all. I sold few books here and there when they come in on Amazon, FBA, and on eBay in the past. I sold textbooks really quickly. Hold on, why is this happening here? All right. Yeah, I sold some like textbooks, especially college textbooks and stuff. But I'm not big seller into books, so I can't really give any advice. I wouldn't feel comfortable about giving advice. I never own any scanner besides a scanner that I use occasionally, which is Profit Bandit from Amazon. But that's what I can say about the books. Man, I gotta block a lot of people here. Crazy. All right, let's see any other questions here. Have you sold any cool vintage computers lately? Actually, matter of fact, I packed one today. Commodore 64 from early 80s, complete set with bunch of software, books, controllers, floppy disk drives. I don't want to lie how much it went for. I can quickly look it up here. Actually, give me 1 second. I don't even remember. Okay, let's see. Let me go to archives really quick here. I think we sold it for like 260 bucks, I want to say, and it took about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks to sell. March. I'm kind of curious myself. Where is it? Where is it? I'm looking at the wrong stuff. It's not March, it's April already. What's wrong with me? Sorry, guys, but I'm curious myself. I want to check it really quick. Okay, April. Sorry for the little break here. Okay, there it is. So it actually sold for $239 with $40 shipping. Vintage Commodore 64 huge lot, computer floppy disk drive, 151 1541 software. I mean, it was a huge bundle, so all that stuff sells really good. Especially Apple stuff sells really good. Let me bring the chat back here. All right, let's see. Do you ever deal in retro video games or card games like Magic, Be Together because of the... Yeah, mainly, I mean, we sell some games on eBay. Most of the games I sell right in my shop. Have a huge following when it comes to that. I got guys that come on a weekly basis looking for different vintage games, both resellers and just regular guys who collect vintage games. Games that are big, very big. I usually have, from NES's, Nintendo 64s, all the systems always available in the store. At least we try to stay stocked. That's hot stuff right now. Any rare, expensive VHS players? Overall, all the VHS players sell pretty good, although the market is a little bit flooded. I made a video a few weeks back that if you can find some Sony beta players from 80s and 90s, those will bring some good money. Of course, there's some better models and worse, but I sold some in a range between $300 to $400 a piece. But most of them will sell probably around $100 to $150 a piece. What's up, Ronnie? Do you sell car parts? Hardly ever, occasionally, very rarely, hardly ever get any car parts. How many stores do I have totally on eBay? I actually have three. I have one which is a main one, and then I have one with clothing, and then I have one more that it's not very active, and then I use mainly for buying stuff. Do you offer returns on vintage electronics? I offer returns on everything, 30 days, no question asked, pretty much. It's part of the business, that's what you gotta do. And if you say no returns, eBay will make you accept it anyway. All people have to do is put not as described or not working or whatever, and you gotta take it back. How is my clothing going? I changed my strategy with clothing a little bit, trying to do mainly shoes and vintage stuff, trying to stay away from just typical, pants, jeans, shirts, stuff like that. If it's an interesting t-shirt, yeah, absolutely, I will go after it, vintage stuff. That's where the money is for me. So that's about it on clothing. I think last month I want to say we did like 3,000 in clothing. And I have probably only about 150 items listed. We were almost at about 250 point. We dropped down, sold off some stuff, and now I'm really cherry picking. Have you bought any Rolex watches? Yes, we do. They don't come in very often. Rolex, Omega, all that stuff. It does come in. Usually, we do have to pay up for them because people really know what they have. So it's a little bit different game when it comes to watches. And I have actually couple guys. When I get them, I usually can unload them to them really quickly. So not a lot of money in those because people tend to know what they have, and they know what can it bring, and it's just like playing with gold, with precious metals. Sorry guys, the chat is moving so fast. We got 500 people here, so why do we have all these people making stupid comments? Okay, hold on. Pete, if I am listing 700 items a month and selling two $20 items a day, should I upgrade my account from a free one? I would definitely do at least the basic store. I mean, you'll get some free supplies, not a whole lot, but you'll get some free supplies, and you can run some sales on your listings and stuff like that. So definitely, if you have 700 items, you should be selling a little bit more than two items a day. But maybe check your titles, pictures, and stuff like that. That's very, very low sell-through rate. So, have you caught anyone stealing in your store? Yes, quite a few times. Matter of fact, somebody stole yesterday, and we don't know who, and actually was in such a bad angle we couldn't tell on cameras. Somebody stole the fishing reel yesterday, and that fishing reel was like $12. Can you believe it? $12. The biggest thing that people steal out of my shop are DVDs. We usually have, I want to say, selection of about 3,000 to 4,000 DVDs available for sale, and probably a few hundred Blu-rays. And people steal those all the time, even though that we are selling DVDs only for $1. they will still steal them. They'll take them out of the case, they put the case back, and they steal just the CD. Yeah, I know how poor you have to be to steal DVDs. I know people do it. somebody, somebody really wanted to go fishing. Yeah. How often do you sell broken computers for parts? Not super often, but if they come in and if there's any issue, first of all, any computers, any laptops or desktops or any kind of computers that we get, we try to sell them in a shop first. And if they sit too long, which they usually don't, then we move them to eBay. Unless it's a super expensive piece, then we'll go directly to eBay because it's hard to find a buyer in a shop for expensive stuff. So unless it's Apple products fly out the door all the time. Pete, are you Polish? Yes, I am. I came here when I was 13 years old, back in 1984. That's exactly right, Warszawiak. Pete, what kind of fishing gear do you like to collect? Well, I'll tell you first what I like to use and then maybe what I collect. I love St. Croix rods. I love G Loomis. I'm not a big fan of Shimano. I used to be. I know G Loomis got bought out by Shimano, but that's what I like to use. I like Daiwa reels. As far as what I collect, a lot of fishing lures, from wooden ones to stuff that it's from 30s, 40s, and 50s. I have a pretty big collection actually. Now it's all stored away till I finish my house, but I like that stuff. I like a lot of vintage reels. How do you feel about Pawn Stars and hardcore pawns? Are they even actually accurate at all? They're fun to watch. I mean, they're fun to watch. It's Hollywood. I think everybody knows that. Most of the stuff is scripted. About 3 years ago, I was supposed to be on one of the episodes of Pawn Stars. I was gonna sell him a Walter Payton jersey, and I actually already made the arrangements, book the trip, and they cancel on me day before. Everything is kind of pre-arranged a little bit in advance. So that never happened. I still went to Vegas, had some fun. Pete, do you come across a lot of vintage sport cards? Yeah, not a whole lot. Sports memorabilia, it's very tricky, especially the signed stuff. You got to be really careful. You got to watch, for counterfeits. A lot of people try to pass fake shit with the fake, certificates on them. So it's a tricky game. I totally stay away from baseball cards. Don't do any of that stuff. Market is absolutely flooded, and I just don't know enough. Not me, my agent, my guys. We just don't know enough about it. So people are asking, where's my shop located? I'm in Crystal Lake, Illinois, about 45 minutes northwest of Chicago. Going back to the question of Pawn Stars and these shows, it's Hollywood. You guys got to remember, it's all Hollywood. They got to make it interesting. But really, truly, the most interesting show out of all of them, I like American Pickers, because it is not scripted. They really go into crazy places and they really dig and they find unusual stuff. So it's interesting. So that I do really enjoy watching that. There's actually, matter of fact, there's supposed to be either just a one movie. I don't think it's a documentary. It's a movie. I don't know if it's a mini season coming out on Netflix end of this month. I think April 21st or April 22nd, about a girl that hustles and sells on eBay, flips clothing. I think it's a new series starting end of this month. Anybody of you guys heard of that? I can't remember the name, but could be very interesting. I'm gonna see that. Do you still find good stuff from the cards at Goodwill? Once by haven't checked lately. You know, Goodwill is hit and miss. I constantly hit thrift shop. I just enjoy it. I love it. I mean, it gives me the rush of finding stuff. So I don't like savers. Savers for me is overpriced. I only hit them under 50% day off. But here and there, I'll go there occasionally. And I really like tiny local thrift shops. You know, kind of mom and pop shops, small. They know me by name. I go all the time. That's when I find my best stuff. Are you and Adrian 50-50 partner? Yes, we are. We've been partners in a couple different businesses for a long time. We know each other for a very long time. Oh, I gotta back up these comments here. Hey Pete, what would be your top 3 places to source? I absolutely love flea markets. You can find some good stuff at flea markets. Garage sales would be number 2 for me. Probably number 3 would be estate sales, although a lot of them around me are pretty overpriced. Unless you're playing like with clothing, and I say that all the time, and I know Ronnie Hart says this all the time. People tend to overlook clothing at estate sales, and you can usually find some good stuff. And probably the 4th place would be thrift stores. But the local game is big. If you guys can take time and learn going after Craigslist, OfferUp, Facebook groups, Let Go, all these apps. There's so much stuff on there, and if you find few of your niches that you can go after, you can constantly find stuff, and out of every 5 items that you're gonna find, one of them you're gonna buy. Somebody's gonna accept your price. And I think that's the game a lot of people miss and don't play or are scared to play. I know it's so easy to walk into a thrift store, but like I said again, finding stuff there will be mostly between that $20 to $30 range, So Pete, what do you think about pawn shops in Chicago? A lot of these pawn shops actually are selling online, and they know they can get, they hire actually people to sell for them online, and a lot of them, they know they can move some merchandise, so it's not as easy as it used to be that you can find some good deals. I hit some pawn shops when I'm in a city, not very often, but I do. But lately, I honestly, maybe last year, I bought 2 or 3 items in pawn shops, and there's not that many of them. I mean, and I like the smaller ones, locally owned, not the corporate pawn shops. Like Easy Pawn or Pan America, stuff like that. I don't seem to make. You can still find some stuff, but for me, not enough meat on the bone. So I have one that it's actually in Rockford, which is about an hour north from me, that I'll occasionally go, and I know the guys, 2 brothers who run that shop, and I'll get some deals from them. And I usually do a bundle, pick up a few things. So it's anytime that you can do bundles, you can make some money. All these stupid comments are coming in. Pete, would you date a man like myself? Absolutely. I love guys. Yeah. What kind of question is that? Pete, I found 1957 Nikon camera worth $5,000 for only $6. Do you think Goodwill still price checked? Goodwill will overlook a lot of stuff. I mean, but like I said, we love these home runs, right? Because they miss some stuff here and there. But how often you find stuff for $6, $10 that you can flip it for that kind of crazy money? Not very often. They're pretty sharp. They know they know what they're looking at, and it depends in the area. I was surprised. Just stayed over in Wisconsin. When I go to a Goodwill, the prices are lot higher than they are here in Illinois. That's for sure. Pete, what is the one advice you wish someone would give you starting out? Patience. One word, patience. Everybody wants to have everything happen overnight these days, and it just doesn't work that way. There's lots of competition, there's a lot of resellers, and you got to figure out how these games work and be patient, and eventually it's going to start working for you and you're going to be making money. Why you got 12 cars in a... Do you still use Craigslist at all? Yes, absolutely. We use for advertising the shop, meaning I list my items there and drives the traffic to the shop, which is pretty good. I will list something, they are interested, they'll come in and buy different stuff. And I also use for sourcing. We always have at least 4 or 5 ads running weekly basis that I'm looking for stuff. Looking for vintage electronics, looking for bikes, looking for vintage clothing, antiques, stuff like that. So constantly use those apps. I love Facebook too for searching stuff. Pete, are you still planning to make a video series about other resellers? Yes, I do. I actually talked recently to 2 different resellers, and I just been so busy lately between the business and building my house that I just don't have time, to actually make appointments, set up, go out, interview, film. But eventually, yes, I would love to do that. Yeah, I know I need a moderator. It's hard. That's okay. Who cares? Whoever's saying. People who came to watch, they know. Pete, do you do storage auctions? Also, do you still watch Global Voodoo? Yeah, I do watch Mike. I enjoy his videos here and there, and I don't have time to watch everybody all the time, but here and there I'll pop in on his videos. What about storage auctions? I used to do it a long time ago. I actually, back in the day when we had hauling service, a lot of these storage places would call us to clean out. They even didn't want to do auctions. They just wanted to get the stuff out and clean it out. So we would end up with a lot of stuff. It's very hit and miss. I got 2 guys that come to my shop and sell me stuff from storage auctions, and I talk to them all the time trying to figure out if it's worth going back into it or not. Depends on the area. It's kind of hit and miss, Sometimes you hit some good stuff, sometimes you end up with a bunch of junk that you got to be prepared for and you got to take it to the dump, So it's a hit and miss game. I'm just gonna delete a few people. Hold on, guys. What is your favorite TV show? Oh, that's a good question. I love watching Walking Dead. I think it's a kick-ass show. Do I have a hustle shirt for sale? Not at the moment. I was gonna make some of these, but they will be available soon because I'm making some for the resellers rally that we're gonna be doing in Chicago this June. So I'm sure I'm gonna have quite a few available for sale. Most expensive find in the dumpster. I don't know. Um, I found that cheap Chinese violin. I flipped it in the shop, I think, for like 80 bucks. These aquariums that I find, the last couple that I found sold right away, easy flip. You know that dog food that was in my last video that I found bunch of dog food? That was probably like $400 or $500 worth of dog food. Some of these bags were selling for like 25 bucks, 30 bucks a bag. Crazy. There was a lot of wasted food. Pete, how older were you when you started doing this? Believe it or not, I think I made my first flip when I was like 12 years old. Yeah, I think I was 12. Yeah, I sold some Matchbox cars on a black market back in Poland. My grandfather was big of reselling fishing stuff, and I would always go to the, it's like a flea market, but it was a different kind of flea market. You can buy anything at that flea market, from a washer to a dryer to a car to toothpaste, anything. Back in the day when Poland was still communist, you wanted to buy something, you would go to the flea market. Okay, let's see. Well, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Let me shout out some people here. Rocco, Aiden Tiger, Mother Vice's daughter. That's pretty cool. Illinois Matt, Clifford, Vanderpool. I made my big money back in the day in auto salvage. I had my third. Yeah, I don't play with that stuff. I know it's still pretty profitable. Hello, Pete. Hi, 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 guys. Okay, I think I've been going for about an hour, guys. Cover some topics. Um, that headline in a video from 0 to 20 million drifting, right? Just beware. That's how I started talking about this at the beginning of the show. Just beware. Um, there's so much free information that you can learn these days online that um, you don't need to be spending crazy money on stupid, crazy courses that people promise you, making millions. Just, be really careful. And going back to it, there's a ton of people out there who are real businessmen, and you can watch their interviews and you can watch what they do, and those people that you want to learn from that are not trying to sell you anything and make you millions of you. So I mean, there's nothing wrong from charging stuff. A lot of people did it over the years back in the day. They're doing it now. They're going to be doing 20 years from now. It's just, you can learn it without spending crazy money. Can you sell animals on eBay? No, you can't. It is a grind, absolutely. It's not an easy gig. It's a lot of work. Why don't you write a book? No desire to write a book. Pete, will you ever retire? I don't know. Probably, eventually, hopefully. I don't know. I love what I do. I love this shit. It gives me adrenaline every single day. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy fishing a lot too, so eventually I would like to, spend more time fishing if I ever have any grandkids. Well, thank you. Thank you. No shortage of question, obviously. I'm trying to pick some, but it's going so fast. Dropping off a little bit, we were over 500 people. We still got 480 people watching. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. It's crazy. But it's also very cool, that I can share some of my expertise and knowledge. I'm not trying to by any means be an expert at anything, but I think I kind of know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for a while, so. Um, and hopefully you guys will join us for the show tomorrow that we're gonna do with Chad and Ronnie on Reseller Pulse, same time, 8 Central Time. I don't know if you still hear Ronnie or Chad. Can you confirm that? Are we doing the show tomorrow? The show, yeah. Back to making my millions now. All right, guys, that's it for today. I enjoy doing these live shows. That's great interaction with you guys. You get to hear some funny questions here and good stuff. Good stuff. Love it. Thank you for the tips. You're welcome, guys. Appreciate you watching. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming out. Great time. Till next time, guys. Cheers.